this. Thank you. We've missed out your intro, Midwin, but which you're welcome to go again. But if not, I'll just...
Oh no, that's all good. I don't think we'll need to come back in.
Okay, but it was interesting. If
you.
nothing else, so that's good. Okay, next on the list, Daryl.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm Daryl Edwards. I'm owner of West Midlands Business Advisors. Up until sort of 5 years ago, I've run manufacturing businesses of between 60 and 600 people. What I do now is I help businesses grow. I help owners with exit and sales. In terms of my, I think what's it called, big hairy goal at the moment. It's my big hairy goal is actually to, within the next, I'd like to say that, I've picked a date by the end of 2025 to have a business that runs without me. The short-term aspiration of that is that I need to change from being a solopreneur. But probably in terms of where I think this program fits quite neatly into that is that by the end of January, I want a consistent revenue that's based upon, should we say, consistent, should we say, sales processes. And so my target for January is something that I've set, which is around about 10 grand a month.
Good number. Good number. Okay, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. Smart. Very good. Excellent. Got that. Brilliant. Rachel, over to you, please.
Hi everyone. So I work at the University of York. I've worked at the university for about 17 years now, so quite a long time. But I have changed jobs within that time, and I'm now working for a department called Enterprise Works within the university. It is a new initiative. It's a business hub in York that aims to drive social change by supporting entrepreneurial activity. And we work with businesses to connect them into the university. We offer various services. We offer training, skills development. We offer workspace. Many of you will have heard of the York Science Park. And we also have office space at the Guildhall, which is in the middle of York. We help businesses if they are looking for an intern. We have some high caliber students. So, sorry about my phone. If you would like an intern to come and work with you, then we can assist with that. And we run various other support programs. We also help businesses if they want to connect with an academic and do some collaborative research, or they want to set up a partnership working with a postdoctoral researcher exploiting a new technology as well. So there's lots of ways the university can work with businesses.
Fantastic. And first of all, do you know each other, Rachel and Medwin?
No, so it's just when Rachel said down at the Guildhall, this is where
of course, yeah. What an incredible coincidence that would have been. But
that is. Which business are you, Medwin?
So we're Matobo Limited.
Yeah.
If you're familiar, with it's our window there. It's just the river, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's probably one of the nicest places in the whole of York to work. The Guildhall.
Yeah, it's a fantastic office space. In fact, actually, I'm going to open the blinds now. I remember.
Yeah, not a bad place to be at all. Well, you're very welcome as well. So we're going to be talking about going through a whole sort of process over the next 7 weeks, which is, and I keep these deliberately small, by the way, because they're more manageable. It's very, I don't know about you, but I find it very tiring being on Zoom calls. And if you get more than a certain number, it can become chaotic and really what McKinsey would call suboptimal. But in my language, not quite good enough is probably the order of the day. Okay, right. So, so we've got quite an array of experiences and sectors. So I'm really hoping that actually yes, of course, learn something from whatever's on here, but actually the major learning comes, in my experience, from the engagement, from talking, from shaping ideas, from inputs, things like that. So that's what I'm hoping to do. But by the end of your 7 weeks, you've come out with you've got, should we say, flesh on the bone of your plans of where to take your specific services, your goals, and you've got some ideas and some inputs, and you've really got a plan of action, and you can deliver, or whatever although judging by the markets, you don't want to be delivering that every day of the week. So anyway, here we are. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is value proposition, and I don't know if that's a phrase that you've come across before in your sort of business travails, but Rachel, I'm guessing the university in the business school, which has been rebranded something else recently, and forgive me, I can't remember, but it's the Institute of, or I think, but they would call that, it's really what you sell and who you sell it to, and the value that you're sort of creating. But something like 80% of people really struggle to tell their story in, should we say, 60 seconds, and I think it's an important skill, not just for actually in business, but in life as well. If you want to get to the point and tell someone a story that they're going to act on, I think that telling it in succinctly in a specific time frame which keeps people's attention, I think that's a really good thing to be able to do. And so today, between now and 11:30. I want to get, and it won't be perfect, but it will be a good story that you can start building on. And perhaps, I don't give homework on these kind of things, don't believe in that. You're very welcome to go and refine your story and come back and pitch it next week. And that would be fantastic if you want to do that. That said, also around about 10:30, I wouldn't mind taking a sort of 5-minute coffee comfort break, something like that, to get up and stretch. And I think it's important for a wellness point of view. I think that would be a really sensible thing to do. So if I lose track of time, Medwin, keep me on track, will you? Yeah, that's right. I was about to say I don't need that. I can go home for that. But I am home. So right, I don't want this to be death by PowerPoint, but I've got a few slides to sort of take us through. So I'm hoping you'll forgive me. You'll forgive me a bit of that, if that's okay. Right. So let's go. Think there and there. Right. So on your, can now see my screen. Okay, right, brilliant. So just in case you wondered if you're in the right place, you definitely are. Okay, right. So there we go. Right. So this is me looking at you, and this is me on my screen, and that's something else we'll learn about as well. You'll get really good at how to run a Zoom call, because the key ingredient that is missing from a face-to-face, an in-person relationship, if you like, when you're actually dealing with someone in person in the room, is you're able to look them directly in the eyes. On a Zoom call, that's not as obvious. So this is me looking at you at my camera lens with I know this seems really obvious to say it out loud, but you would not, particularly, Rachel, if you don't mind me saying so, with academics, they're looking at their screen all the time and they're talking like this and they're not really engaging with you. And that's so if there's one message you can take away, that would be the one. Okay, right. So the agenda, yeah, we're going to do introductions about the series, on that, creating your story, bit of a coffee break. We are going to do some pitching. So there's going to be some work for you. It's really important that this isn't a lecture, because I'm guessing maybe when you've had plenty of those. I know I have. And everyone else too, but we are going to be creating some stuff to in and almost experimenting, if you like, with that story in some sort of safety. And then we'll wrap up, and I do need to be focused on 11:30 because everyone's got busy days. So first of all, has anyone ever had sales training sort of formally before?
Not, sorry to just jump in before
No,
I wouldn't, not sort of official sales training as such, but more kind of experience that I've gained from working in a few different places and stuff that I've essentially been sort of told to do and how to speak to customers and manage sales in London more than anywhere else, but yeah.
So that's what I would call sort of on the job type.
Yeah.
Training, if you like. What about Rachel? Have you? Sorry, Rachel, grab the coffee then. So I'll just keep talking for a few more seconds. But have you? I mean, you've been involved in the university for a little while. Have you ever had sort of formal sales training before?
No sales training. Previous to this role, I was working on the PAPI project, which was
what project?
PAPI, PAPI, Product and Process Innovation, and that was delivering grants to small businesses. A lot of people might have heard of PAPI, but yeah, that's probably since 2016 they've been my main sales roles.
Brilliant. Okay, but no sales training. Okay, well, I'm hoping we can do something about that. What about Daryl? Have you had sales training before?
I did 2 days in sunny Worcestershire in about June 2019.
Did you?
Yeah, it was quite good fun. I've still got the folder. Have I implemented everything I learned? Possibly not. That's probably the life of a solopreneur.
You've hit the nail on the head, actually. And remember, Rachel, you must come across this as well, because you know, sales is just one of the zillion things you probably have to do, right? But actually, if we get some sort of, I believe, particularly in smaller organizations, and Rachel, even though you work for a massive university, your team, your group that you're part of, Enterprise Works, is effectively, I believe, a small business in its own right. It has a context, and you have a funding stream and all those things, but actually, I think your team probably exhibits solopreneur type.
Yeah, we do. We are a new initiative, and yeah, we're just a small team of 3.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Deal size. I know it's dangerous sometimes to talk in averages, and we don't all have the same measures for our businesses, but maybe what would you say is the average deal size of what you're doing?
I think average, the majority of sales that I've done has been within sort of motor retail. So I was working for a motorcycle club in London, selling protective gear, so motorbike helmets, jackets, jeans, that kind of stuff. So it would range anywhere from maybe £500 to £3,500, £4,000 maybe.
Wow. Okay.
Per customer, depending.
Yeah.
Our client base was very kind of specifically Shoreditch, Hoxton, hipster, Newbury.
Boho, hipster, yeah. So what were they, Gucci jackets or something?
Well, Bell staff. We did have some more sort of budget-friendly stuff, but I think the nature of the type of place it was and the type of people we brought in has gradually sort of turned it into much more of click.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I would say so. What about Darryl? Deal sizes.
In terms of probably today, it's probably the smallest is sort of selling sort of 2 or 3 hours in time, which is probably about 300 quid.
Yeah.
Up to perhaps, if let's say a business sale could be anything from as low as 5 grand up to, let's say, about 40 grand. In his history, probably going back to my days in manufacturing, and in terms of leading a sales deal, probably recently it would have been something with Cummins, which was probably around about an incremental revenue of about 500,000.
Right.
And going back to certainly project management days, that's leading projects that was delivering hundreds of millions of pounds worth of revenue into Ford. But that's leading a large project team.
Yeah. And everything in between.
Yeah.
Rachel, your business is measured slightly differently, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I worked, it is very different, but I worked at PAPI, Product and Process Innovation, at the university, and we delivered grants of up to £20,000. So I had to connect with SME businesses that were looking to buy capital equipment of up to £50,000 and above. And in purchasing that 50k piece of kit, the university grant would refund 40%. So they would in effect get a £20,000 grant back.
Yeah.
Not from the university, from the European Regional Development Fund.
Good idea.
So yeah, I was connecting with quite senior people in the businesses, MDs, FDs, CEOs. That was my target audience.
Okay.
PAPI.
So it's almost talking a different language as well, certainly when speaking to CFOs. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for that. Right, so the first thing we're going to do now is I would like you to spend 30 seconds. Now, you've probably got a pen and paper in front of you. I would like to spend 60 seconds, probably no more than that, by writing down, number one, we sell this, and this is the result that it delivers. And I'm not going to be any more specific than that, but I just want to see what happens here, and then when we go through the process, what happens at the end. That's so I am going to time this. Going now. 60 seconds.
Pack it in, or you're going to be in trouble. I mean it.
Ooh. There we go. Okay. How did we get on? Okay, who's going to volunteer to go first?
I'll go first. Sorry, I got distracted then. I've got 3 mad cats chasing each other around the house at the moment.
Okay.
It's all right. I've got my daughter's cat with cat sitting, and he's a very energetic little fellow.
It's it's real life.
So you want me to literally say we sell? Yeah. So we sell our ability to help business owners grow. That's all. That's as far as I've got.
Okay. So so the growth is, that's the result that you deliver.
Yes.
Good. Yep. Who's next?
I'll jump in. So I've got, we sell cybersecurity and GDPR training, and as a result, we can deliver a full suite of training to any number of staff currently available in both English and colloquial Welsh. This can be tailored to fit with an organisation's required level of staff completion.
Did you have that pre-prepared? Okay. Okay. You can type faster than I can, that's for sure. Okay.
Yeah, I can type faster.
I'd still be on we. Oh dear. Rachel, how'd you get on?
I've got that many windows open, I couldn't find you all.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still typing actually. Yeah, what we sell, we've got office space, so we've got stunning office spaces, work, conference settings. Obviously, as Medwin will agree, amazing locations with amazing facilities. With the internship, obviously York is a very prestigious university, so we do have some really high caliber students that will come in and work with your business and make a real difference. And that's as far as I've got.
Fantastic. Okay, that is really good. So this is what we sell. This is the result that we deliver. Because I think when we sell to businesses or when we work with businesses, they're not actually interested in specifically what we sell. They're interested in what it can, how it can help them, and how it transforms their business and how it benefits their business. That's the major point here. Okay, right, we're just on that. So this guy, Peter Drucker, if you recognize that name, I'm just trying to think of a modern day, well, a modern day equivalent would be a McKinsey or something like that, and he said, nothing happens until somebody sells something. And I firmly believe that that's true. And he wasn't even in sales. He was a management consultant, but one that actually did something as well, which is a real differentiator, I think. So Peter Drucker, nothing happens till somebody sells something. I firmly believe that. And if you're in a small business, I believe everyone's either in sales or supporting sales. That just absolutely needs to be the mantra. So the most important question, or the most often question I'm most often asked, is how do I differentiate myself? How do I stand out from all the other businesses? Because there are, I can't remember how many Russell Group universities there are, close on 30, Rachel, or something like that.
I can't remember, but yeah, there's not many.
No, understood. But you have got competition. Yeah,
24, and I think in our area it would probably be only Leeds and York that would be in those Russell Group. And for anybody that doesn't know what Russell Group is, world-class research intensive university.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Okay, and you're absolutely right. Now I'm married to a very clever woman who actually went to University of York, so so she would absolutely stand by that. I always argue that or joke that between us we've got 2 degrees. She's got both of them, but between us we do actually have 2 degrees. Anyway, the point is, how do we stand out? Because if you're doing something that's quite similar to someone else, and Medwin, I'm guessing you're not the only cyber training company out there, or it would seem that you've cornered a bit of a market.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Yeah, so we in many ways have it does feel like we've definitely cornered the market. But there are a few other people doing similar things, but not quite to the level or depth, I guess, that we've started.
That you're doing. And Daryl, any competition in your space?
I think there's lots of competition, but it's in some ways it's quite difficult to compare.
Right.
I think if I was to look in terms of, people might call me a business coach, people might call me a business broker even, because of the diversity of the services that I offer.
Yeah.
And so if you compare me to a corporate such as, let's say, KBS, they are a large corporate organisation that's been trading for about the last 30 years. And they've got a large sales organisation with then a telesales team with people that do half a job. But in doing that, the sales arm of the organisation does exceptionally well, because if you look in terms of the live business sales market at the moment, they've probably got 60% of it.
Wow.
But whereas I'm really delivering, I would say it's a personal handheld service that really walks you through the journey, which is different.
It is, and that is your point of difference. Okay, brilliant. That leads me very much onto this thing right here. Let's go back in. Okay, so on your screens, just a minute. This is a best practice sales process, I believe. So these are all the 7 modules, and don't cheat by having the Eventbrite thing right in front of you. But these are all the 7 modules kind of mixed up. Any idea where I'm saying this out loud? Value proposition clearly goes number 1. That's why we're doing it first, because I believe you shouldn't spend any money on marketing or any money at all until until you know what you're selling, who you're selling it to, just the basics. Okay. And I believe business is about mastering, and sales certainly is about mastering the basics. We can get clever later on, but let's get the basics right first. So we're doing value proposition obviously today. What do you think's coming next week? We've got our message. What do you think we might be doing next week?
Go to market.
Take that. Is that what you were going to say, Midwin?
I was going to say pursuit strategy.
Oh,
yes.
Very honest.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Okay, right. We're actually going to be doing go to market, because literally, just remind me, is this on the left of me or on the right of me? I can't remember if I've mirrored my
Sorry.
Am I okay? Right. Is this left to right, or is that left to right on your screen? I mean, it's left to right. This is left to right to me. Is that
your right hand's on my left?
Okay, right. So I'm just trying to interpret. Okay, right. So going from left to right, that's the beginning of the process, and this is the end of the process here. Right. Value proposition here. The live show, folks. Okay, value proposition here. The next one's going to be, okay, how do we take that to market? Well, we've got to know who we want to sell it to. So that's going to inform our strategy. Yeah. Then we want to generate leads, but we don't want to generate any old leads. We want to generate the right kind of leads. Now, I was working with someone, another Russell Group university, the other side of the Pennines. They do exist. The other side of the Pennines. Who did 22 demos of a bit of software that they've got, 22 demos last week. And I said, how do you even find time? How do you even find time? Your head must be spinning in amongst all the other things that you've got to do. And they said, that's the problem. Inquiries aren't a problem. We've got loads of inquiries. The problem is we've just got to, they're not all converting. How do we get that? And I think so, and that was just last week. So it's not just getting any old lead, because a lead is just an opportunity to do some work at with no income. So you have to be careful about. There's also, and I've only been working as a small business for about 4 years. Previously, I've worked for, you know, companies with thousands of people in, selling to other companies with thousands of people in, which is different. Found out very different way of working. But anyway, the right kind of leads, that's what we want, the right kind of leads coming in. So qualify those opportunities. So this is the first major bit of learning for me in about 5 years. It used to be, oh, thank God we've got a lead, we must sell to it. It used to be that way. I see you nodding, Daryl. So I think it's changed now. I believe, and I think I think it's changing anyway, but the pandemic has accelerated this change. I believe when we get an inquiry, well, of course we need to be polite, professional, kind, all of those things, but actually our responsibility is to disqualify now. So using the legal analogy, the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, I believe the presumption should be, we're not going to work with you until you can sell yourself to me. Now, we have to be very careful not to be arrogant. Do that. And with the greatest respect, Rachel, sometimes Russell universities can come across as being quite arrogant. They are brilliant, there's no doubt about that, but I think there's a way to be brilliant and, you know, not arrogant at the same time. You have to be very careful. You've got a sort of, I'm not going to say a dominant position in the market, Midwin, but you are well known in the markets that you serve, your company Matobo. And that's a very vulnerable position to be in, as I'm sure you're aware. So qualifying the deal, but doing it in a way that, which is respectful, kind, but also you've got rights and entitlements too. You've got a right not to have your time wasted, to only spend time on stuff that's worth spending time on, basically. So you've got rights and entitlements, and sometimes, you know, when we're being all British and polite and all of that, sometimes we don't really assert those rights very assertively. But yeah, anyway, you get my point. Okay, then we're going to have a pursuit strategy. So we've decided we've got a lead that's come in, we like it, we've qualified it. Now we're going to go after it. And a pursuit strategy is probably, of all the modules on this, it's probably the most abstract. But actually, I think it's the greatest amount of learning, or it was for me, a pursuit strategy. And a pursuit strategy could be going out and getting the next, the last invoice I wrote, by the way, the last invoice I wrote was £250. So I work with invoices of all different sizes. But I've also worked on quite a few deal sizes as well. So pursuit strategy, you can have pursuit strategy light for business as usual, but I'm going to be talking about pursuit strategy full fat with a sausage roll on top, for stuff that's not business as usual, and that's going to be number 5. Then we're going to have negotiate and close, all in the same sessions. That's quite an intense one, because sometimes you can be negotiating and closing almost in the same breath. That's why they're both together like that. Now, interestingly, Rachel, I don't know if you, this sounds a bit odd, but I'm going to ask it anyway, but do you actually negotiate? Because the ERDF, if I understand it, is pretty rigid framework. So it's not like we're negotiating for 40% grant, oh, we're only going to give you 39. It's either 40% or nothing, I would have thought.
Yeah, it's the business can only have 40% grant, but as you say, there is massively strict criteria that they have to hit. So all my leads, sorry, I've got something in my eye.
Oh.
I had to massively pre-qualify. I had to do like a kind of a health check on the business. You know, obviously it's publicly available information about the business. Check that they were an SME. You know, that they weren't over 250 employees, that kind of thing, and also that what they were looking to do was viable and something that's needed in the market, because we obviously don't want to waste money and you know, put money into something that a business has got an idea on that we don't feel will work. So it was very, very strict criteria.
Yeah, understood. Thanks. Sorry, Daryl, just to see that, kind of see that through. Do you have to negotiate, or I'm guessing
You do. I think it varies such a lot.
Yeah.
From client to client, and I think probably I think part of the problem that I've had is actually you negotiate yourself out of it. You decide, well, actually, to get this, I need to be pricing at a number that starts with, let's say, 4, whereas really you think, perhaps I should be more as a number starting with 6.
Yeah, really good. So in that one, I'm gonna talk about a house sale that I did a couple of years ago, and the sort of psychology that went from sometimes selling houses. Well, apart from one of the most stressful things you can ever do, sometimes it can be a little bit like horse trading, but it is an interesting psychology to go through, and it's fairly simplistic. But we're going to do that in number 6. By the way, negotiation is very different to discounting, right?
Yeah.
It is not the same necessarily. So often it can involve, and I know 1 or 2 sales trainers who say, I never discount. Well, I'm a bit more pragmatic than that. If it's a project I'm interested in working on, then I tend to be just a little more flexible, and my game, my rules. So that's okay by me. But the important thing is you're not sleepwalking into something that you didn't intend. The important thing is that you're doing it sort of mindfully, if you like, purposefully. Okay, right. So, and then the end, you'll notice that closing the deal is not the last part of the process. It's, I think, the start of a new process. So we've got a client on board. What are we going to do to grow that customer? How are we going to get them to spend more money with us? Because I think new business, it's hard, but it's also very expensive to win new deals as well. So Harvard would tell you it's between 5 and 25 times as much to win a new piece of business as it is to service an existing customer. And yet, energy companies, mobile phone companies, they spend all their budget on winning new customers. The churn rate in those markets is about 36%. So they have to sell 37 contracts to get 1 more, so to speak, because 36 are falling out of the bottom. What would you like to know that? Anyway, so we need a crystal clear message for our business, something which is unambiguous, not like this one. That was the I think I'm right in saying that was the Lancaster one-way system. If you, I don't know if anyone's been around the Lancaster one-way system. It's quite something. But that was a couple of years ago, and yeah, what are you going to do? You have to manage expectations, and in sales we have to manage expectations. So this is not my favorite movie. This is from the Princess Diaries, which we maybe everyone's favorite movie. Maybe not. So hello, not a bad introduction. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die. So he's doing I mean, that's quite an elevator pitch. So he's made an introduction. He's the problem statement. He's listed the problem, and the call to action is you need to get ready to die. So he's taken someone right through the process in 10 seconds. So I kind of like that as a kind of a circular argument. There you go. Right. Anyway, so call to action. Yeah, we need one of those, and we'll pass swiftly on. Okay, right. So this is. Have you come across the notion of blue ocean marketing before? Okay, right. So St. Peter's Bay in the Bahamas is not been to this one, but beautiful place, white sandy, but golden sandy beaches in this case. No one else around, and it's just idyllic. There's no one else playing your game. That's the idea of blue ocean marketing. And actually, it may have been blue ocean when Matobo first started out. Midwind, there may have been no one else doing exactly what you're doing. And I relate this. Forgive me. I relate this to the iPad. You know, it was, gosh, 12 years ago when Jobs, Steve Jobs, the CEO of Apple, was on his sofa. He had an iPhone 3. This is not an iPhone 3. I just put that up for effect, but he had an iPhone 3. If anyone remembers those, God, they were slow. And he'd be watching his telly at home of an evening and wanting to look something up on the internet. And it would be, he had the choice of either a really small screen but convenient, or big clunky laptops, nothing like they are today, but it would be quite heavy. It'd be really hot as well if it sat on your lap. And he had that, but he thought there's got to be a better way. And so there was no market, no, there was nothing else on offer. So he had a spare 560 million down the back of the sofa, as you do. And he probably in those days actually did have a spare 560 million because he'd already done well, and he developed it. He created the market himself, and he coined a phrase about making a dent in the universe. So if anyone's read the book about Jobs, I highly recommend it. There's been a few. There was one written by a journalist as Steve Jobs was going through his cancer, and it was approved by Steve Jobs. He'd actually engaged this guy to write a story about his life. So that's a really brilliant story around, well, we'll create one. Now, not everyone's got that kind of resource. The alternative, and it's really important to know what you're doing, is most of us are in red oceans, shark infested, ferocious, competitive, loads of competition. You know, if you're not careful, you get your fingers bitten off. That kind of scenario. But it's still possible to succeed. And I think of a couple of firms come to mind. The most obvious one is the grocery market, with Aldi and Lidl that have actually been around on the continent for years, decades, but only been in this country probably 15, in a major way, about 15 years. And the way that they were able to not just survive, but thrive, and one of them has just become number 4 in the grocery market share. I think it's Lidl. They've overtaken Morrison's now for market share in the last week or so, because they have a very clear value proposition. We're not going to stock everything. You know, we're not going to be all things to all people like a Sainsbury's or a Tesco or something like that. We're only going to stock certain lines, but they are going to be the cheapest. And as we, you know, on a typical trade cycle, that will become in vogue and go slightly out of vogue. But when we're facing energy costs as we are, inflation costs as we are, people will flock to those kind of value propositions because it suits the order of the day. The other one I'd argue, excuse me, which is more your part of the world, Daryl, is Gymshark. You know, most people have heard of Gymshark. Medwin, do you know Gymshark? Yeah, okay, right. So Gymshark came out of Solihull. They would argue strongly, but that's not part of Birmingham. But I think for our conversation, I would argue it is. But they had something different. The market for gym clothing was dominated by Nike and Adidas, and there are some peripheral players, Lacoste, and all of those things. But they, you look like a rapper if by wearing their stuff. They're great, huge. They'd even fit me. Great big sort of jogging bottoms or big t-shirts, oversized t-shirts, and Gymshark. And also, you could only order them by you had to go into a shop, Sport Direct or whatever it happened to be, to buy your stuff. Well, Gymshark said, well, actually, you know, we want to sell to people that are really keen on the gym, and many of those will want to show off their tone and all of that. And you can order direct from our from our website, and that was, so it was new in terms of style and new in terms of approach. It was different. That's the point. It was different, and they jumped into a very ferocious market. And now, I think it was last year, their market capitalization was over £1 billion, and that was within 10 years. So they've just gone off the charts, and I think they're a spin-off of Aston Business School. I think they've done a couple of things. Okay, right. So why the value proposition? So if you just sleepwalk into a sleepwalk, that's a pejorative term, but what I mean is, if you don't think about what you're doing, you are just walking into this is a Zeeman pyramid, Z-Y-M-A-N. You can Google it afterwards. I had the great privilege of working with Sergio Zeeman on a couple of deals. If you are, let's say you're pitching to the ERDF around, I'll try and take a live example, Rachel, to administer one of their programs. If you just go into their the process without thinking about what you're doing, without seeking to differentiate yourself, you're going to be one of the me too. If you want to be different, and I've not been through an ERDF process, so I'm not the expert on this, but assuming that you have to differentiate yourself somehow, you're going to need to think about, well, how do we do that? And how do we do that in such a tight, sort of tender response? That's not easy to do at all. But if you want to be, and I've probably chosen the wrong example, so, but if you want to be preferred, then you're going to have to differentiate yourself yet again. The so what will be a differentiated value proposition, just makes you stand out, like we talked about with Gymshark, like we talked about with the iPad, what became known as the iPad. And of course, everyone else has played catch up, so you're not short of choice of what to buy in the tablet. But Apple, because they what's known as first mover in that they actually created the segment, they not only have the dominant market share, but they charge twice as much, I think, as the nearest competitor, or Samsung with the Galaxy or whatever happens to be. And an iPad is no more, it's almost a generic term for a tablet. That's how pervasive it's become. Here's another one. This is not York, by the way, Rachel, just in case. So I worked on a master's program about 5 years ago with what was called who had recruitment issues. They can't even, universities don't use the word sales, they have recruitment and conversion. I think that's probably the same for York as well, but anyway, that seems to be the dominant sort of term. And I worked, I had my sort of initial, I'll call it an interview, but an initial meeting with the head of this program on the 2nd of July. And by the end of August, they wanted to get 20 people on this cohort. So, okay, Chris, how many have we got so far? He said 2. And I thought, well, you've had, 46 weeks to get people on this program, and you want me, and you got 2, and you're expecting me to get 18 in 7. But that was the deal. Anyway, if you've got enough clever people around the table, all focused on a common goal, I believe you can make amazing things happen, and we did. And we got 23 by the end of August, which is not really the point. It's a good point though. At the wrap-up meeting, a couple of academics around the table and the project team, didn't we all do well and all of that. I overheard a side conversation with a couple of the academics saying, oh, by the way, Martin, we're #1 again for corporate strategy. Oh, well done. And I overheard that and I said, hold on a second, did I just hear that? #1 for corporate strategy? Oh, yes. is that number one for corporate strategy in the northwest? Because Manchester was just down the road, perhaps there was regional competition, and they said, I'll just give it away now. And they said, oh no, it's number one in the world. I said, what? Better than Harvard? Oh yeah, we're better than Harvard, better than Wharton. And they said, oh yeah, we're better than Wharton. And do you know what? It would have been, I said to them, it would have been really helpful to know that 7 weeks ago when we started this program, because I guarantee you, and here's the point, I guarantee you, if you were in an American institution, that would have been drilled into you day one. And we're all nodding and right. So here's my point. My point is, you are number one at something. Let's find out what it is. And that's what I mean by dig deep. Because we're all, and John's not with us. So I was expecting John to come in, and he's paid. He's in New York, so so he's probably sleeping. I know it's 4:30 in New York when it starts off, but that was his choice. The point is that would have been drilled into you day one. So what is it that we should be drilling into our pitch, that we should be showing off about? And rightly so, because if you've actually done stuff which is really, really good, I don't think that's showing off. In fact, I think you have a responsibility to get those case studies out in the open so that people can talk about them and do good things. So that was the point number one in corporate strategy in the world. The irony is this bloke, the guy called Jerry Johnson, who wrote the book, the Johnson Scholes book on corporate strategy. It's the standard text. It's sold millions and millions of copies worldwide. It's the standard text. If you go to any business school, that's what you'll be reading. He sat in an office 30 feet away from mine. And, and that's about people not talking to each other, but also it's about being very understated. Oh no, we don't show off. We've got to start showing off in a way that doesn't turn people off. But I think soft words, hard facts, I think there's something of that. So point is, be bold, be more confident with your offer. Okay, now I'm going to whiz through these. I want to talk about a business benefit. So do you remember at the very beginning we talked about what do you sell, what do you do for your customer? And most people, let's do this. I'm going to do the analogy, we sell laptops. Technology is, you can't avoid it. We sell laptops. Well, that's not different. You get a million people and Amazon as well and buy laptops. So selling laptops in itself is not different. But the ones we sell make you more productive. Okay, well, that is a benefit, but it's not unique to you. I could get that benefit from any person that sells a laptop. So it's not really good enough yet. Well, okay, well, the way we deliver IT means it's 30% cheaper because we invest more in our infrastructure. When you open up the laptop, it's going to connect with the Wi-Fi. You're not going to be fiddling around on the keyboard. You just know it's going to work. You can rely on it. You'll be productive from the first moment you open it up. Okay, well, I think now we're getting somewhere. Now we're articulating the benefits of dealing with our company if we're selling laptops. If you go one stage further, which many can if they think about it, and say, well, 75% of our clients renew their service agreement at the end of the first term, and a term in an IT service is normally 3 years, sometimes 5, but it's normally 3. Not only have you demonstrated through numbers and facts that you've got a fantastic infrastructure which is reliable, dependable, all those things leading to productivity, but you've also demonstrated that you've got great customer service that people will come back for, they want to buy more of, and you've really created a fantastic value proposition. That's the point. We've done that one. Okay, right, so I'm going to go through this properly in just a minute, but before we wrap up for coffee, I just want to play you something which I think is a great example, and then we'll come back and break it down. So Now, I am going to have to share my volume on there because we're going to have to listen to this as well. Hang on a second, one second. Yeah, sounds okay. Right. Sharing. And let's see what's going to happen here. Okay.
Hey,
Right.
I'm looking for.
Do you recognize this, by the way? Yeah. Okay. By the way, just in case you're wondering, oh my God, he's not going to teach us to behave like that, is he? No. But I just want to play you something from this, and we're going to break it down after coffee. Okay. So here we go. Let's go from there.
Hello, John. How you doing today? You mailed in my company a postcard a few weeks back requesting information on penny stocks that had huge upside potential with very little downside risk. Does that ring a bell? Okay, great. Well, reason for the call today, John, is something just came across my desk, John. It is perhaps the best thing I've seen in the last 6 months. If you have 60 seconds, I'd like to share the idea with you. You got a minute? Name of the company, Aerotine International. It is a cutting-edge, high-tech firm out of the Midwest awaiting imminent patent approval on a next generation of radar detectors that have both huge military and civilian applications. Now, right now, John, the stock trades over the counter at 10 cents a share. And by the way, John, our analysts indicate it could go a heck of a lot higher than that. Your profit on a mere $6,000 investment would be upwards of $60,000.
Jesus, that's my mortgage, man.
Exactly, you could pay off your mortgage.
This stock will pay off my house.
John, one thing I can promise you, even in this market, is that I never ask my clients to judge me on my winners. I ask them to judge me on my losers because I have so few. And in the case of Aerotine, based on every technical factor out there, John, we are looking at a grand slam home run.
Okay, let's do it. I'll do 4 grand.
4,000, that'd be 40,000 shares, John. Let me lock in that trade right now and get back to you with my secretary with an exact confirmation. Sound good, John?
Sounds good.
Great. Hey, John, thank you for your vote of confidence, and welcome to the Investors Center.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Right. So. You've probably all seen that, and it's entertaining, and it's one of the few scenes that doesn't have any swearing in, so I can actually play that one. So what we're going to do is I'll keep the line open, but we're going to grab 5 minutes for a bit of a stretch, come back with a cup of coffee. I make it 10:34, so if we come back at 10:39, would that be okay? Fantastic. See you shortly. Brilliant. How are we doing so far?
Really good.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. Okay. So, just a couple of misnomers about that movie, by the way. If you know your business history, there isn't an issue with companies starting out in garages, even though HP, Google, all of those go. In fact, you can go on a tour in Palo Alto in California now, Silicon Valley, and they'll take you through, you know, that this is the house that HP, or the garage that HP started out in. It's become a bit of a shrine to lots of technologists around the world, if that sort of takes your fancy. And so, but to most people who perhaps haven't studied business, they'll think, okay, that's flaky because they're working out of a garage. Many massive companies, in fact, the world's biggest company right now, started out of a garage. So that's neither is it, because you've seen the film, and most of us have. They're selling based on nothing, lacks integrity. We don't sell like that. Managing expectations for sure, but misrepresentation, there's no room in the market for that. And sometimes, especially when it comes to technology and you're rolling out new software and stuff like that, you know, not everything works 100%, and that's why managing expectations is incredibly important. Okay, right. So I play that just because I think it's because we're actually going to be producing something like that in the next 45 minutes. So for our own companies. Okay, so we've done that, and that, and okay, right. So there is the ability to tell your story. I think is vital, but the ability to tell a story within a certain time frame, let's call it 60 seconds, I think is even more valuable, because people's attention spans these days, you have got to get to the point pretty quickly, right? Okay, so your value proposition, which is what we're talking about today, is your offer that's why in the first sort of exercise, what we sell, which is your Daryl, your consulting services, Rachel, your grants, your ERDF programs, etc., Medwin with your cyber training and other trainings. That's just what you sell. In and of itself, it's not a benefit. It's just what you sell. So your value proposition is, of course, what you sell, because people have to put stuff in the box. So it's your offer plus benefits plus ideally 2 case studies. So there are going to be some organizations that you've worked with where you think, God, I'm really proud of that piece of work that we did, because we took them from there to here. We did really great things for that company, and I want to tell the world about that. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So I need you to think of 2 case studies that, now you may not be able to mention their name. Sometimes, particularly with FTSE 100 companies or really big companies, they don't allow you to mention their name, but you can talk about them in the round. You can talk about a Russell Group University in the north of England, or something like that. You can talk about a local authority in the southwest of the country. You can talk about stuff in the round. If you can name your case studies, so much the better, because it's very specific. And a target market, i.e. the kind of customers that you want. And just in case, and I'm sure we're not, but a lot of people will say, well, I want to sell to everyone. Well, it doesn't really work like that. And nodding your head, Rachel, so I'm guessing it's not the first time you've heard that.
It's so annoying, Keith. So I'll kind of work with somebody, and they'll say, right, well, we want more businesses to come on training. And so you're like, well, what kind of businesses? Well, any business can attend. And it's just so infuriating, because if you just widen the net to everybody, you just could be wasting so much time.
Yeah.
If you've not done your kind of homework before of what your ideal business looks like.
So have you come across the concept of avatars, customer avatars? Or pen content. We're going to be talking about that in lead generation. To have an image of, these are the kind of customers that we want. So remember when I said it's our responsibility as salespeople to disqualify, it's to the point where if they don't look like this, we're probably not going to win, and therefore we're not going to really engage. Now you have to be careful how you do that. Always be careful who you reject, because if you're rejecting someone because they're too small and you're not interested, small companies can become big companies and they'll remember you for that. So how you say no is really, really important. However, we're talking about doing the best thing by your business here. So your target market is really, really important to define who you're talking about. And they'll also talk about, machine gun, spray everywhere, the sniper rifle is very targeted. You'll maximize your budget, your marketing budget, and you're more likely to win if you have a very, very targeted message. And then a clear call to action at the end. And I'm going to go through that scene in a bit and break it down and just kind of show you what was going on next level down. You can probably do a PhD on that scene. Well, moving on. Okay, so guidelines for a value proposition. Is your offer, benefits, case studies, target market, clear call to action. Okay, so benefits, remember, there are only 2 benefits you can deliver for any company. Only 2. Increase sales, reduce costs. I'm happy to be challenged on that, by the way. Increase sales, reduce costs. There is a bit of a grey area, often for third sector charitable firms, but I would argue that I would argue if you can appeal to someone's corporate social responsibility agenda, you're going to help them sell more stuff, because you're going to attract people whose values align with, we support whatever charity it happens to be, or we're very green, or something like this. I would argue that's helping to increase sales. In fact, if you don't point your benefits to increase sales or reduce costs, you're missing the mark. Now, in Matobo's case, it's interesting because a lot of yours is around audit and compliance, isn't it, Midwin?
Yeah, so essentially, the majority of our customers have to do and have to essentially purchase what we're selling, whether it's through us or someone else. They have to make a decision on someone. So it's, yeah.
So
I was going with that.
Yeah, so they have to tick the box. I don't want to demean your offer, but it gives them the ability to tick the box. We've done that. Now, I would argue that if you think about it long enough, you can point that towards an income stream, because the way local authorities are funded, where they get their funding from, they're not going to get that funding if they haven't ticked the box and got that. Am I about right? That's just my impression. Would that be fair?
I would say, yeah, I think that's fair. A big selling point for us is, I would say, is probably reducing costs. Is for the majority of these people in these organisations, the cost of training their staff for anything can be absolutely crazy. And what one of our main benefit is that our product ticks their boxes and will reduce their costs, because
you're actually doing both.
Yeah.
Which is really where you want to be. If you can do both, that's marvelous. I spoke to the chief executive of a local authority a couple of years ago when I was trying to persuade them to put someone on an executive MBA program with the university I was doing some work for at the time. And I introduced a community scholarship, which is basically a 75% discount on an MBA program by any other phrase. And so it was going to be $5,000 versus 20 grand. And I went to Susan and said, and do you know what? She won't mind, she doesn't mind me telling this story. I know that because I asked her. But she laughed. She said, I've got to tell you that even though that's a massive discount, our training budget per head is £49.50 per annum for all of our stuff. That's how bad it's got in local authorities. That's the kind of stuff they're having to deal with. So that was 100 people's training budget to allow one person to go on. That's what you're having to do. And that's why you have to be very, very targeted on your messaging. You really put some sort of intellectual rigor in it beforehand. You're nodding, so I'm guessing we're on fertile territory here. But anyway, that's an example of wait, they did send someone and they benefited massively, and they got the money from somewhere else, as often happens. But that was the persuasion bit, that they were persuaded because of the brand of this university and the fact they want to develop their staff. Everyone should want to develop their staff. And so they did it, and that was the persuasion. Anyway, so benefits, costs, revenue that my company could bring to your company. Case studies are contextualized. So I just gave you a case study for an exec MBA program and a local authority, and they've benefited. Contextualized benefits that your client enjoyed when our customers enjoy our benefits. Again, you're going to have to think of some case studies, and we're going to go through an exercise to encourage you to do that in a minute. Target market, the clients that you're looking to win. So as Rachel just said, despairs sometimes when you hear someone say, I want to sell to everyone. That the world doesn't work like that. It's got to be very targeted. So the kind of companies, are you looking to work with just local authorities? Are they financial services or manufacturing companies or engineering companies? Are they just companies of a certain size? When I first started out, I wanted to deal with very small companies, micro businesses, as I now know them to be called. So I'm not really a big fan of that phrase, but that's what it is. But I found out that most of them don't have the budget, training budget at all. Most of them, and so that was my research led me to believe that actually, if I may well want to help that sector, but they haven't got the budget, and so I will help them another way, which is why I do free stuff as well. Okay, so is it a sector? Is it the size of the company? But what is it? Get an avatar, and we'll talk about that as we go through the process. And then there's a call to action. There's always a, so that was an example of a cold call that somebody made, Leonardo DiCaprio, as it happened. It was an example of a cold call. So there was a wrap, there was a call to, there was an action at the end of it, an outcome, and that's what we need. It could be anything. It could be, let's meet for a cup of coffee to talk about this in more detail, or let's have a Zoom call. Zoom is absolutely part of my process. I love meeting in person, and I'm a big coffee fiend. So it's any excuse to go to the Ron Cook Hub or the Guildhall or whatever it happens to be. But actually, I feel it's valid to have a 15-20 minute call. Do we like each other? Because you're probably not going to do business with me if you don't like me. Although I take anyone's money, yeah, that's just the way life is. It could be visit our website for the latest deals. You know, so because the website, even for employees of the company, the website is often the sort of oracle of truth for the latest positions on certain issues. Or it could be, you're not in the market, but do you know anyone that could be in the market? Can you refer me to someone? And I have to say, being maybe it's just me, but being British and reserved and all those things, we're not very good at asking for referrals. And I think if we've got a great product or service that we can really bring, if we're really proud of what we do, and I've got to believe we are, we should therefore be really comfortable in, or we need to get over ourselves to the point where we're happy to ask for referrals, assuming that we're proud in what we do. Okay, I'll just put that out there. And then it's about using concise, clear language. Zero waffle. Let's assume that this is a 60-second pitch that we're watching, which it is by any other words. There was no BS in there. I'm not a big fan of jargon. I'll go into that in more detail anyway, but we don't want, we want to be careful. Be careful with jargon. Sometimes it might be appropriate, but often it's not. It can, because the last thing you need to do is confuse someone. And be bold, use numbers where you can. And an example might be, I just helped a company with their cold calling skills, and they generated 30% more appointments last month because they're better on the phone. Well, helping someone with their cold calling, that's my offer. That's just what I do. The benefit is, how did it help that company? Well, they got 30% more meetings last month. That's the benefit. That's why they bought it. Or it could be, I recently helped Leonardo DiCaprio with his acting skills, and as a result, he won the Oscar. That's an offer to help someone with their acting skills, and the benefit is winning an Oscar. Someone's already beaten me to that, so there's no difference there. Okay. An example of a 30-second pitch, something that I've used before, is Keith runs Sales Marvel. Now, this could be a cold call, by the way, if you're thinking about where, does anyone make cold calls these days? Do you know Rachel? I'm impressed. Okay, I thought it was a bit of a dying art. I love making cold calls, but
I'm a fan of them, Keith, because like if you want to talk to the MD of a company, you're not going to meet them at networking. If you send them an email, it's unlikely that it's going to get through to them. So I just ring up and ask for them. And, you know, you'll often get blocked by the gatekeeper, but sometimes you do get through. And yeah, we often got through.
Yeah, fantastic. And because you got that persistence thing, which is something else, that's a differentiator all of its own. So well done. So it's when you get that MD on the phone and you probably only got 30 seconds to hook them. What are you going to say that's going to pique their interest, if you like? So we help clients win more business. That's a benefit by dramatically improving their sales skills over the phone, online, in person. Recently, so case study, I helped a 4-person marketing consultancy. That's only relevant if I'm speaking to a micro business. So that tells them the kind of target market that I'm after, because I want them to be thinking, wow, they've helped a company of that size. Perhaps they can help me. That's the kind of, you know, so when you made that cold call to that MD, you know, perhaps Rachel, you were talking about a similar size company doing a similar type of activity, maybe.
Yeah, if anybody goes on the Pappy website, it's gosh, I can't remember what it is. Sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, if anyone goes on papi.org.uk, we've got a page just of case studies and video case studies, and we've got every sector of business that we've worked with. So you could often point them to, you know, oh, this is a similar business working in your field. You might have even heard of them, and blah blah blah. So yeah, video, very popular. Video case studies and written case studies we did.
Yeah, brilliant. But it tells you, you know, the kind of organization, and this helps them visualize, okay, they could help me. So we helped that kind of company, that's my target market, win a large corporate client, which was their target market. So this is the bit, remember I said increase sales, reduce costs, decrease costs. So this is helping a company increase sales. That's how it's linked. By crystallizing her sales messages. Now, I know you've never come across this before, but the woman that ran this company is a marketing person, and there were 66 slides that she really wanted to talk the customer through. And, you know, you're just not going to 66 slides, not even for an internal meeting. No, there's no finer way to put someone asleep. Okay, for a pitch to the client's CEO, and a CEO isn't going to sit probably through 6. If you've got 6 slides, that's probably the maximum for that level of meeting. You're going to say, well, how can I'm reminded of the Winston Churchill thing. He wrote to a Labour peer at the end of the Second World War. And the letter that he wrote said something like, I'm sorry about the length of this letter, but I didn't have enough time to write a shorter one. The point being that it takes time, effort, intellectual rigor to distill a great big 66 slide deck down to 6 or less slides. It takes a lot of thought, but it needs to be done, because you're just not going to maintain someone's, you're certainly not going to sell them, you're going to bore them to death. So getting your message right, crystal clear, succinct, takes effort, but it needs to be done, and it's worth it. Okay, so she won that deal. That's a definite benefit, and it was 40% of her next year's revenue. So it was not just a deal; it was a big deal for her, and that's a definite benefit. So I'm now looking. I've played that story. I'm now looking for that's my call to action, a referral for other SME clients, my target market, who could benefit from those same sales skills. Now, does anyone know approximately how many words per minute that we speak at? As I'm speaking now. No, you're not allowed to Google it, Midwin. Yeah. As I'm speaking to you now, what I hope is a normal rate. Anyone know how many words per minute typically we speak at? Okay, you can Google it afterwards. It's 140. 140. So words per minute. You can gust up to 180. You know, if you're in New York or something like that, but generally 140. It's just over 2 per second, in other words. So this is, I think, 76 words. I'm not going to count them all now, but it's about 76 words. So therefore, it's just under 38 seconds. I'll probably get away with a 30-second pitch with that, but that's just an example. I mean, it's a simple math thing. If it's a 60-second pitch, you can't do 250 words because they won't even understand what you're saying. So you've got to find a way to pare it down. Okay, right. So I want to play that again, break it down, show you how it matches, and then between now and 11:30, we're going to create the bare bones of a story, a script for our business. Is that okay? Right, let's go here again. Yeah. I've already shared sounds. Just press it again. Yeah. So.
I'm looking for an investor center.
Oh, you got echo? Hang on a second.
No, investor center. I'm looking for investor center.
Yeah, that's us. Hey.
Right, hang on. Let's do that properly. There we go. And
Free.
okay, right. Here we
I
go.
hope it happens.
Hello, John. How you doing today? You mailed in my company a postcard a few weeks back requesting information on penny stocks that had huge upside potential with very little downside risk. Does that ring a bell?
Okay, so what just happened there? First of all, can you hear that okay? Okay, right. Okay, so there are a couple of things that happened, even though you might be thinking, well, he's just spoken to someone. He did a couple of things. He got engagement. He asked a question earlier on. All the person had to say was, oh yeah, I remember that. It's really important that you're asking for engagement. So this is not just about telling your stories, but how to make a cold call as well. And it's still very relevant. How are you doing today? If everyone's familiar with technology, you'll know that when a modem speaks to another modem, they electronically they ask, "Are you ready to receive my signal? Are you working?" The other modem says, "Yes, I'm ready to receive," and then the signal, the data transfer takes place. Humans are exactly the same. That's why we ask, "How are you doing? Isn't the weather lovely?" It's not because we necessarily want to talk about the weather. It's about, are you ready to engage with me around dialogue? So there's something quite caveman about all of this, but that's the most important part of the call hasn't taken place yet. He just needs to really sure that the person is ready to receive that information. Okay.
Okay, great. Well, reason for the call today, John, is something just came across my desk, John. It is perhaps the best thing I've seen in the last 6 months. If you have 60 seconds, I'd like to share the idea with you. You got a minute? Name of the...
Okay, right. So what he did there is he's said everything and nothing at the same time. He's built some intrigue. There's something about intrigue. We're saying something, but we're not alluding. If you'll forgive the vernacular, we're showing a bit of ankle. Okay, in terms of I've got something which actually, do you know what it's called? Enveloping. I don't know if you've heard that phrase before, but let's just say Medwin and I, we were in your office down by the riverside there, and I've got an envelope. Someone's taken my envelopes, but I've got an envelope, and I put it down on the table. It's got intrigue, and it's probably got your name on it. What are you going to do with that envelope?
It's got my name on it. I'm most likely going to pick it up.
And you're going to open it up to see what the message is, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, good. Glad you answered that properly, because that's the that's the right answer I was looking for. The point is that I've got something that's really of interest, but you can't see what it is because it's all wrapped up in an envelope. And the human instinct is, well, it makes you curious. Okay, wow, I got to know what that is. It's something of value. It's something of interest. So I need to pick that. I need to open it. It's called enveloping. It's an amazing skill, communication skill, that you can use on the telephone, in person. And I really hope you're going to experiment with it and read about it a little bit further. But it's called enveloping. It's an amazing skill. There are some amazing skills listed in this scene, which you don't always get to talk about. But he's building intrigue, and the other person goes, okay, well, tell me, what is it you've got? Okay, now I know this is a movie. It's not real life, but actually, it's closer to real life. If you do it properly, then you might imagine. Okay, let's see what happens. And by the way, listen to the B end. Who's on the other end of the phone that you can't see. Have a listen to that voice as well. And I'll ask you a question about that afterwards.
The company Aerotine International. It is a cutting-edge, high-tech firm out of the Midwest, awaiting imminent patent approval on a next generation of radar detectors that have both huge military and civilian applications. Now,
one second. Okay, right. So, wow, there's a load of diatribe there, and around patent, cutting edge technology. Don't forget, this is all about a sales message here. That's why it's relevant. So there's lots of bordering on jargon there. And do you remember I said, not actually, don't use jargon, just be careful with jargon. So if you're talking to someone, be conscious, don't sleepwalk into a jargon-filled conversation. So if you're talking with someone who's got money in the financial markets, as he was talking to someone who's investing in stocks, and said, that's a fairly sophisticated person by default. And I would therefore argue that the use of that kind of jargon on a cold call to someone of some sophistication because they've got money in the markets, that's probably appropriate for that in the context of that conversation. So the point is, I wouldn't go into ERDF techno speak if you're speaking to someone. In fact, Rachel, greatest respect, I wouldn't go into it at all. But if you're talking to someone who's
I don't, believe me, I don't.
Thank you.
I don't know if any of you businesses have applied for grants, but it's very complicated.
Yeah, well, administering them after you've won, you've got to be careful about what you win as well, because that's onerous too. But the point is, just be careful who you're talking to and make sure it's appropriate for that conversation that you're having. You're speaking to that MD who really knows their market well, you're going to have to be on your mettle. You're going to have to really think about what words you're using. Okay. And by the way, in number 4, qualifying the sale, we're going to talk about communication skills in a bit more depth, because that's really, really important. Anyway, point is that he's gone through a load of jargon, he's building interest, and let's have a listen to what happens next.
Right now, John, the stock trades over the counter at 10 cents a share. And by the way, John, our analysts indicate it could go a heck of a lot higher than that. Your profit on a mere $6,000 investment would be upwards of $60,000.
Okay, right. So right now. Okay, so now I know this is a movie, they're playing it for effects and stuff like that. But the point is, it's a call to action. Act now. Now, actually, there are plenty of an ERDF. I tell you what, they are not very flexible on their deadlines. If you're applying for a grant and you're yeah, okay, well, we've all been there. So actually, maybe that's not as removed from the truth as we might think. There are. It's now. It's right now. It's not tomorrow. It's right now. So we're asking someone to act. That's what we're doing. It's very conscious that he's trying to do this. But there's also something else going on. If you said your profit, if you act now, could be. So that's the benefit. So that buying the shares, that's just what he does. The value proposition, the benefit is the profit that he's going to make by acting now. So he's pulled all of this is why script writers are worth a lot of money. So he pulled all of those individual elements together in one conversation to get them to act now, spend money now, and he's sort of explained the benefit, not just we sell shares, do you want to buy any? It's much more sophisticated, much more targeted than that. Okay.
That's my mortgage, man.
Exactly, you could pay off your mortgage.
Okay, now that's a bit of feedback from the prospect, not the customer. He's not a customer yet, a prospect. Wow, I could pay my mortgage. Do I need to be so crass as to say that's a buying signal? Is that obvious or not obvious? Okay, for me, that's a buying signal. Wow, that's my mortgage. Now, it doesn't mean he's still going to buy, because he needs to be capable of buying, and hopefully we've done our research, but we know he's got money to buy. Okay.
John, one thing I can promise you, even in this market, is that I never ask my clients to judge me on my winners. I ask them to judge me on my losers, because I have so few. And
Okay. Now, that was a bit cheesy, I would argue, but there was a benefit in there. It wasn't just about making money per se. Do you any idea what the benefit might have been? Risk, reduced risk. So with which is a soft benefit and not always obvious. He asked me, don't judge me on my winners, judge me on my losers, because I have so few, which is a bit cheesy. But for the purposes of this conversation, it's about risk. We've got the world's best experts, and they're telling us this is a good stock to buy. Excuse me. So you can be more comfortable in making this purchase because we've done our due diligence and it's low risk, and we know what the end result of that story was. But for the purposes of this conversation, that was the other. That's why it needs thinking about what benefits do you do. So part of your maybe when part of your story might be not only can we reduce your costs, but actually it's low risk. All of our stuff is already built, it's already configured, all of this, so it's low risk, it's easily implementable. Daryl, you've got oodles of experience on engineering and manufacturing businesses. You're a low risk hire, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we know so. And Rachel with University of York, who have got some of the finest academics in the world. Let's start being bold. Let's quote some numbers and all those things. So we can do that without being arrogant, but it happens to be a fact. Soft words, hard facts. Okay, let's see what happens next.
in the case of airtime, based on every technical factor out there, John, we are looking at a grand slam home run.
Okay, so he's leaning up, low risk, surety, not surety, certainty. So that's something else. Let's see what happens next.
I'll do $4 grand.
4,000, that'd be
What happened next? And the answer was nothing. There's fantastic communication skill. Power of silence. You didn't say, isn't that a great offer? Let's do it now. A grand slam home run. Nothing. Because the very next thing to happen in that conversation, no matter who says it, will dictate how the rest of the conversation goes. So he said what he needed to say, and then he shut up. And he's going to wait for the other party to say something. And so now it can be really, if you don't know what's going on, and it all goes quiet. If you've ever been in a restaurant or a cafe, you're having a conversation with whomever you're with, it might go completely quiet for some reason. Often it can happen several times. And when it goes completely quiet, everyone will look up and go, what's happening? Are we on fire? We need to get out of here? Yeah, what's going on? It all goes quiet. Everyone looks around. And because it's unexpected. And silence, the power of silence is if you don't know what's going on, it's terrifying because everyone's thinking, oh my goodness, someone needs to say something. Is it me? What do I need to say? I need to say something clever. That's what's going on. And that you are forcing with a small f the other person to say something in the conversation about how they really feel about something. Does that come across? Do you get that? So the parasites, if you know what's going on, it's incredibly powerful. If you don't know what's going on, it's terrifying. So use it. That's what salespeople need to use in their toolbox of tools, if you like. Okay, what happens next?
40,000 shares, John. Let me lock in that trade right now and get back to you with my secretary with an exact confirmation. Sound good, John? Great. Hey, John, thank you for your vote of confidence and welcome to the Investors Center.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Bye-bye.
Okay, right. So did a couple of things there. He confirmed back, is that the order? Yes, that's the order. So you're getting buy-in. It's building what they call an agreement staircase. We're going to do that now. It's $40,000. We also did something which I think too few businesses do these days. He also said, thank you for your business. I think that is such a, it seems like an obvious thing to do, and yet so few businesses thank people for their business. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Okay, great. Right, so we need to get back on track now. How'd you fucking do? Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so okay, right. Phone call, made an offer. He had benefits, profit now. We've already talked about relevance, no small talk, relevant jargon only. I would argue that's appropriate. Call to action now, John. It's called straight lining in Hollywood script writing. It's called straight lining. So whose voice do you think was at the other end? Scorsese, Martin Scorsese. He was the director of the movie, and that was he often makes a cameo appearance in his movies, and like Hitchcock used to. But he often does that, and he did it with his voice in this one. So if you're doing the quick, right now, we've got to do some work. So we are, excuse me, we're going to go back to what we did in the very beginning. We're going to create a 60-second pitch. It's not going to be perfect, so the pressure's off. I'm going to give you, I think, 5 minutes actually. You're going to have 5 minutes right now. I'll put the guidelines back up there if it will help. But I'd like to just do number one. We sell this. This is benefit, and just imagine we're having a phone conversation with a call to action at the end. So let's just go back up here to the principles again. There we go. So this is what we sell. These are the benefits. Here's where we've done it. The call to action. Use clear language. I'll leave it up on shared screen just for a minute, but I'm going to go. So it's 11:20 right now. We're bang on time. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I'll put it on a timer. Is that okay? Fantastic. I'm going to switch my camera off for a moment, and you're welcome to do the same if you prefer. I'll leave my speaker on though, so if anyone wants anything, just holler.
Would it are we doing this from a kind of phone call basis? Sorry, does that even make sense? My brain is fuzzy this morning. Yeah, we is this kind of from a cold call angle, or
If you like, don't want it to be as sort of structured as that necessarily.
Okay, cool.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, it's all good. Yeah.
Okay. How are we doing, Marin and Rachel?
Yeah, good. I'm just going to finish off this sentence.
Good news is not expecting perfection because it's not possible. But I'm really hoping that we can get a straw man, if you like. Okay. How are you doing, Rachel? Are you okay? Oh, there we go. Right, fantastic. Is anyone being courageous enough to be the first volunteer?
I can go, but I'd already done some work on it, so perhaps
Oh,
it'll be a bit
right.
easier.
All right. Yeah, all right, Darryl. Let's go.
So I've just done. So I said, I'm Darryl. I'm the owner of West Midlands Business Advisors. We do two things. We specialise in helping SMA businesses grow, and when the time is right, we help business owners exit their business. I'm currently working with online retail, and together we've redefined the business structure and defined our financial targets. Our plan is to grow by 30% over the next 12 months. I'm also helping a business owner exit his haulage business. We're head to terms with a view to complete in 8 weeks, achieving a sale value of £700,000. At West Midlands Business Advisors, we walk you through the journey. We always act with integrity. We provide insights, and we're always there to listen. So I really want to be interested to be introduced to SME businesses. My background is manufacturing, but as you can see, I've got experience across a range of sectors.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well done. Excellent. So we've got an offer, what you do, grow businesses, exit them, sell them. In other words, a couple of case studies. These are the kinds of businesses that I work with. Good examples there. Referral. You know, I want to be introduced to similar sized companies that are looking. So that for me was great. Well done. Now, you've done some work on that previously, so
Yeah.
And I respect that. So, but you're in safe company, Medwin and Rachel. So please, who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
Go on in.
Cool. So let me just, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So, hi, my name is Medwin and I work for Turbo Learning. We sell cybersecurity and GDPR training. As a result, we can deliver a full suite of training to any number of staff, currently available in both English and colloquial Welsh, which can be tailored to fit with an organisation's required level of staff completion. In the last 4 years, Matovo has helped over 250 local authorities, 25 charities and 32 statutory organisations to keep their staff up to date on the latest cybersecurity and GDPR best practice. I understand that your organisation requires their staff to complete NCSE certified cyber awareness training. Is that correct?
Wow. You just done that?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I've got to, because that's what you're paying me for. What you did at the end, you asked a closed question. Is that correct? So you get fall off the side of a cliff if they say no. And this is, so I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you feel uncomfortable.
No, I mean, I'm hoping that when I do this stuff, I will be calling people who do need our product. But yeah, I was kind of going for the play with the silence and just.
No, I thought it was brilliant. You've never seen this before. That was fantastic. Well done. Nice one. Rachel.
It's a bit long, so I think that could be a bit of a problem for me, but I'll run through it anyway.
Yeah.
But it is way too long. Okay, so Enterprise Works is a new business hub in York. that aims to drive social change and support entrepreneurial activity. The university is ranked best in class in Yorkshire and Humber for its research expertise and its business support. We are engaging businesses to work with the university through various offers, which are, we offer business training. Training is world-class, research-led, accredited professional development training, which makes measurable impact on a business. We offer three-way collaborations between businesses, a skilled graduate and a university to deliver a transformational innovation project. We provide access to high caliber students to bring fresh perspective and much needed resource on your business. We also offer comprehensive packages of support through the Barclays Eagle Lab. Is there a way here which we could work together?
Wow. You said that was a bit too long, but actually it was right on 60 seconds. So
Oh, well.
Okay.
yeah. So I liked that, really liked that. It was comprehensive, and Enterprise Works does such a lot. It's very, very broad. So distilling it into 60 seconds is no easy task. But I liked that. And you've got so many customers there. It would have been nice to have some numbers. This is who we've worked with. You may not be able to reference their name, Rachel, for whatever reason. It'd be good to have this kind of company. We help using our training, and they grew by whatever it happens to be. So that's what I mean by a bit of sort of granularity, if you like, around case studies. I'm very conscious of time, by the way, but what's it, quality? Yeah, it is quality. The pictures that you just gave there, because if that's effectively what you're talking about, compared to what we started out with at the very beginning, was amazing. So I'm really proud of all three of you for bringing those to life in a very short period of time. And I would encourage you to keep defining that and use the case studies for you just have some, be familiar with what your case studies are and wheel the appropriate one out at the appropriate time. So, oh yes, I'm speaking to this kind of company. This is where we've done it before. The important thing is be prepared and think about it sort of beforehand, isn't it? Now I can send over a PDF, if you like, of this presentation, if that would help as a result of this, just so. And next week, I'll send you a PDF actually before the fact. So if you've got printing facilities, as I'm sure you have, you can print it out and take notes beforehand. Okay, right. So just in terms of what we're going to do next week, as I promised, we're going to be doing go to market. So we've got messages now. We've got our basic messages, which we can refine if you like. And when you come in next week, you're very welcome to. This is what I've done this week, kind of thing. Very welcome to leave that or not, as you feel comfortable with. And get some feedback on that. But we're going to be talking about go to market now. It's dizzying the amount of ways that you can go to market these days. And so we're going to, using what you've created today, we're going to decide how to take that to market, or we're going to make some suggestions on how to take that to market. So wrap up, prioritize benefits, case studies, bold numbers. Numbers just they just tell a story, don't they? They just kind of bring it to life. So what, relevance, no small talk, BS, call to action, you all have those. And also the question is, where else can you use those messages that you've just created? I would argue right across your social media. If you've got something that's not on your website, and you need to be telling that story, because that's your 24-hour, sort of shop window kind of thing. Okay, and you know all this anyway. So, okay, so thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'm very happy to stay on the line a couple of minutes. But if not, Just thanks for your attention. I'll send you a copy of the recording when it's done. It won't be public. It'll only be you that have access to.
Are we in training on the 4th of October, Keith? Is that when your class runs again? As
every
well?
Tuesday morning, 9:30 till 11:30.
Yeah. So we're in next week.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have you Sue probably my assistant probably did the invites last night, probably just for today, but she'll do the rest in the next couple of days, or so. That was my fault for not catching up with her until the last minute. That okay?
Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your attention and your smile. Very important.
See you next
Thank
week,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Next week.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.